Dear Santa, this year for Christmas, I want a couple hundred things, but that sounds reasonable, because I know your secret. Everyone thinks they can only ask for a few things because of selfishness or some hoo-ha. I know your secret, Nicholas. That's right, you're magic. And only those that know it can get more gifts. That being said, this year, I would like... Why? Alright. Dear Santa, this year for Christmas, I want a few things because I already wrote this letter once, and I'm not going to do it again. It talked about your secrets and whatever. I'll be content with a few things this year. Alright, let's get to it. This year, I would like... Dear Cookie Disposal, this year I require one thing, my brother to seize... Is he serious? Is he actually serious? There, I'm here, granting you the attention you so desire, my king! Santa may never learn of my wishes this year, and I think you'd be thankful for it most of all.
Why don't you bring your letter in here? We'll use my wish burper.
What?
Yeah, my wish burper. It burps your wish to the North Pole so Santa can read your wishes directly. Did you think the ground-shaking eructation was for no reason? It's not even noon, Andy. I don't need your attention until at least 2.
Your science is flawed, your assumptions are grade school level, and your device is impractical.
Tell me how you really feel.
I just told...
Later, though, we only allocated an hour for Santa wishes, and we have to do our...
Rapid Game Review Rundown of 2022. Hold on. This is an hour. Gateway to Drobit's review of all the games we played in the second half of 2022.
Oh, do you prefer this to be called the second one?
At this point, yes. Plus the one you said doesn't really fit with what this show is. This one is so descriptive. So this is our Gateway to Drobit's thing we already said where we review all the games we played in the second half of 2022. You know, like we said earlier, it didn't get a different title. Alright, there it is. Here we go.
2022 was a solid year for games. We got long-awaited sequels to series we love, new installments that paved the way for future exploration in familiar worlds, and Tunic. Tunic happened this year. It feels like a century ago, but that's your brain lying to you.
Before we start our long list of games, it's time to review the rules. Yeah, we do this twice a year, but it's still worth going through them. This list will only include games we've played a significant portion of or beaten, games that came out between July and when we record this video, and games we haven't already reviewed separately. That doesn't shorten the list considerably, but at least we don't have to listen to James go on and on about Roll of the Dice.
I think we've said all we can say about that game.
Oh, good.
I mean, it is a lot of fun.
No, start the thing!
Almost a year ago, this cyberpunk game about punching robot dogs with a fist affixed to your back was released on Steam. Nearly a year afterward, this game came to consoles, which means I could finally play it while sitting on the toilet ignoring the world.
Is that why you're in there so long?
Assume that, yes. Anyway, this game is about a retired resistance member named Rayton who is suddenly called back into the ass-fisting business when his friend Urso, a bear, is arrested by the Iron Legion. They colonized Torch City several years ago and have been unfair to the citizens, named Furtisans, because they're all anthropomorphized animals, ever since. As Rayton the rabbit, you'll punch, throw, drill, and whip your way through several maps in an attempt to not only save your friend, but Torch City in the process.
You do mean butt kicking, right?
No, it's because he punches with a giant fist. Ass fisting.
Absolutely not. Don't say that again.
I don't hear what's so bad about it, but I guess I'll stop saying it. You'll dash and fight your way all over the immediate area, finding power-ups, plant seeds, and taking on every robot you encounter. This is a fun game. I really felt driven to complete this 100% because of the maps that fill in, the fun and combo-rific combat system, and the world the characters occupied. If you have room in your backlog, give Fist, forged in Shadow Torch, a try. Overwatch 2 was the absolute bare minimum of a sequel to a game that didn't need one. This is more of a medium-sized update instead of a beefy upgrade. 3 new characters, several new awful maps, new awfully remixed music, sound effects that make every gun sound like they're from Nerf. It's free to play, but that's just a way to peddle their awful battle pass system at you whenever they have a chance. At least until they add loot boxes back in, which is something the community apparently wants. Yeah, it's just more of the same crap. Avoid this.
Destroy All Humans is a series of games focused on, well, destroying humans while following the story of an alien named Crypto attempting to take over the world. A thing he could easily do with the tools at hand, but the story would have you believe otherwise. The recent remake of the first game was a faithful and fun adventure that reintroduced us to this dismal world. The sequel is a sorry sack of hogwash that desperately needed several more years of development before ever being released.
When we played the demo for this game back in April of this year, we experienced several glitches that we figured would never be present in the release version of the game. Cars traveling into the geometry, through buildings, into each other, enemies glitching out, and more. What we didn't expect was that the retail version of this game, on PS5 by the way, would play, look, and glitch out exactly how the demo did.
The quality of the retail version of this game is unacceptable. Not that there's no fun to be had here, but it's clearly unfinished and unpolished. Glitches occur often and will either impede progress or completely eliminate any hope of it. Crashes are also a big problem here. In a 5-hour session, it crashed nearly a dozen times. We lost hours of progress. This is not a quality product and does not inspire confidence in a possible remake of the third game or Big Willy Unleashed.
Sonic Frontiers is a Sonic game. It is hindered by sloppy controls, level design that has no flow, an incoherent narrative, and a world that is hard to navigate. Any creativity present is poured into recreating levels from older games. Most upgrades in the skill tree are useless, there's just too many currencies to keep track of, and it's poorly optimized on the Switch. But this may be the norm for Sonic fans. They're used to and like these design philosophies and methods. They want to see more of this, and that is okay. We were not fans, and that doesn't make this a bad game, just one that's not for us. This has actively deterred us from ever buying a new Sonic game ever again, and maybe that's what Sonic fans want. People who are not conditioned for these experiences to never play them again. They can keep their clubhouse closed to the outside, building an echo chamber of Sonic opinions they can all agree on.
Remember when Mario did an XCOM and had a gun? Well, he returns and is doing the latter more than the former.
Mario & Rabbids Sparks of Hope is the sequel to Kingdom Battle, and it is a much better installment. First and foremost, you are no longer limited to a grid system when fighting things, so you can move freely within your orb of space. Blow shit up, kick a few things, and shoot some enemies all in one turn, then go find some cover. It's great.
The fact you are no longer required to have Mario on your team is a huge upgrade as well. You can now plan your teams better while attaching the various sparks to each member to maximize damage or play it safer. Mario's good and all, but Luigi is better, and he has the longest range in the game. Honestly, every character feels useful to some degree. There really are no weak characters because they all have a unique weapon, ability, or upgrade in their skill tree that makes them viable in battle.
Even Rabbid Luigi with his frisbee is useful. You heard me.
Coupled with the improved gameplay and rather flat story are several glitches that will make you ask yourself, did this game need more time in the oven?
To name a few, there are puzzles you can't solve because blocks don't react to your abilities. This is actively frustrating, specifically when doing the secret zones a second time under a time limit.
If your Mecha Koopas don't have an enemy to target, they will not move or take a turn. The camera will just sit on them forever, causing you to restart the whole battle.
Oh, and this excellent bit.
I'm free!
Oh
no one can keep me down! You attempted to shackle Bowser, look where it got you! Roar!
I broke the game.
Oh, come on, that one was great. All in all, this is a vastly improved experience over the first game that masks the strategy game genre even more, and has even us, two strategy game avoiding dudes, looking forward to more. Give this game a few months, however. Wait for a sale and some much needed patching to happen before jumping in.
Eternal Pinball RPG is a game that mashes up all the complicated mechanics of building up resistances and collecting items to power up your RPG abilities, and the delicate and intricate luck a player builds for themselves in pinball, thus creating one of the most tedious games ever made.
Instead of just bouncing a metal ball across a box with bouncers, railways, tubes, and set dressing that really should be bigger and brighter, there are also items to collect, quests to complete, and coins to amass. Every action will earn you some pithy amount of money or experience, whether it be losing a ball or accidentally completing a side quest because the ball bounced in a strange direction.
Where this game really falls apart is in board design. Every bumper hits the ball as hard as it can, making it very hard to keep track of, and obstacles are entirely too large. Before you ever get another chance to catch the ball, it fell in a too large causeway leading directly to a loss. Or, when you finally get to the advanced board, you lose HP for no reason at all, also leading to a loss. These boards need some extreme rebalancing. There is very little fun to be had here.
The only truly aesthetically pleasing part of this game is the area outside of the pinball machine itself, a semi-clean hole-in-the-wall restaurant with a worn yet clean pinball machine in it. Unfortunately, that pinball game has elements that are too large and geared toward a loss. Useful currency amasses too slowly and progress is minimal, even after playing for several hours. Step away from this pinball game for better pinball games. Perhaps another may show up in this list.
I know what you're thinking. Another pinball game so close to the other one?
Kind of, actually. Now what am I thinking?
What could this one have done differently that would make me put them so close together?
Not exactly.
Shut up, I'm right. Pinball Wizard is an excellent game. This is how you do a pinball RPG. In this game, you use the bumpers to bounce a wizard apprentice, acting as the ball, across several dozen levels until he reaches the final level, beats the boss, and sets the world right. Every floor will increase the difficulty of enemies, the amount of damage you take, as well as the riches you receive and the experience you earn.
The experience you earn will bring your level up, increasing your stats as well as unlocking skills you can upgrade with the treasures you earn. Then, after you fell on floor 12, restart on floor 12 and keep going deeper. Use your newfound skills to undo the mistake you made the first time. If you're bored of that, take on the daily dungeons or the other 2 dungeon modes.
Levels will consist of enemies, one of which holds a key that unlocks the door to the next level, or you can break the game accidentally and skip the key altogether. Barrels with HP, MP, gold, and experience in them that you can gather by hitting them, and more treasure to be collected. There are even secret triggers for more treasure to appear. Then you move on to the next level. Also, everything is adorable, even your friendly little wizard apprentice friend.
Pinball Wizard is fun. Quick, easy, appealing fun. Failures only bring you closer to future successes, and upgradable skills only bring those successes closer still. Multiplayer isn't available out of box, even though this is a remake of the same game with multiplayer out of the box. This is a nope.
The Outbound Ghost is a deeply unfun experience.
Unfun is not a word.
I don't care. Looking away from all the stuff going on between the developer and the publisher, Outbound Ghost is just not fun. The main character shifts every single chapter, and for some reason, Figment's items and equipment don't. There are entirely too many status effects, and none of them are clear. You're scrolling a glossary of 80 terms to find the one that might pertain to what's going on, because none of them have indicators to tell you what they are. The indicators for combat are wildly inconsistent, the story argues against its own plot for the benefit of no one.
Jeez. How long did you play?
Over 8 hours.
Wow. Since this is a Paper Mario-like, I assume it had chapters. What chapter did you make it to?
2 of 4. 8 hours of play, I wasn't even out of chapter 2.
Another miss for the Paper Mario-likes, huh? Maybe one day we'll get it right, but that day is not today. Bright Memory Infinite.
Andy, I do apologize, but I would like to interrupt the beginning of your sentence with some complete bullshit that you will love.
Is there a single portion of anything I say that you don't interrupt with fecal matter?
The sentences I interrupt with burps.
Bright Memory Infinite is some of the best gameplay you can find all year. It has guns, it has a sword, your enemies are either Swiss cheese or Gouda to you. The only real threats are the resource sponge bosses and the glitches.
The action is broken up by some of the bullshittiest of bullshit stories ever created in the history of man. For some reason, weather anomalies are occurring around the world, so the Supernatural Science Research Organization, abbreviated to SRO,
That's wrong, there should be 2 S's in that.
deployed you, as Shelia, to investigate. What follows is some of the most Mission Impossible looking set pieces you can imagine, interlaced with some of the most Mission Impossible writing you can think of. You'll laugh at the fragility of the plot while you rip enemies' femurs out through their nostrils. Also, for infuriating reasons, there's a stealth section which only turns off your abilities even though the enemies use the same shit you do. This is not only a ridiculous game, but a short game as well. Get it on any system you want, but everyone needs to play this game. This is pure, uncontained chaos. Chenzo Club is a game about androids and other heroes fighting off an alien invasion and using blood as currency, HP, and a measure of success. The story follows Blue, an android with a chainsaw as she rescues her friends, defends Earth, and has very stylish cutscenes play out before each mission.
Chenzo Club shot itself in the foot by over-consolidating its currency. Blood is not only your measure of HP, but it's also the money you spend on power-ups. It can't be shared between players, and you can't collect more than your max HP allotment. So if you're really good at this game, be prepared to watch all that potential cash disappear into nothing. Oh, but you can buy extensions to your HP bar. They'll just cost HP.
Creating a system like this made power-ups very difficult to consider. Sure, you can get some nice stuff, but do you really want to give up 3/4 of your HP to get any of this? That seems outrageous. Levels in this game pit players in several lock-in arena type rooms where you must defeat each enemy. You do this for a few rooms, then you move on to the next area. Do this 6 times until you come to the boss of the whole level. Sprinkled within are shops you can window shop in, as well as minigames you can attempt. Then you get a short bonus level where you literally beat men off with both hands and your chainsaw, or your hammer, or magic wand. You may also unlock another playable character. Each character has their own stats too.
You also amass followers in this game every time you clear a set of rooms and complete the end level bonus fan beat-off. If you rescue certain NPCs, you'll unlock purchasable power-ups that can alter your runs. We never paid much attention to these.
Chenzo Club isn't a fun experience until you turn on easy mode. Then it's a great experience. Blood to spare, buy every power-up, buy none, who fucking cares?
Honestly, yeah. This game is only made fun by playing on the easiest difficulty, and by then there are so few enemies to defeat, there isn't a point anymore. This, in conjunction with the final level, are the best parts of the game. The extra HP lets you make mistakes on the platforming section littered with just off-screen enemies, and the scrolling screen is exactly what this game should have been from the beginning. The lock-in arenas are fine, but this is the experience I was expecting when James taped me to a chair, handed me a controller, and said, "Would you like a snack because we're gonna be here for a while?"
If you want a very short, very feel-good game that will remind you of the N64 era of gaming without all the terrible controls, awful collisions, and piss-poor geometry that people define as classic, then look no further than Super Kiwi 64. This is a collectathon featuring an adorable tiny bird with a jetpack named Kiwi. You collect gems, power stones, and a sense of adventure as you fly through 8 levels, collect 5 power stones in each one, and find the hidden secrets of the simple pressing minigame.
My favorite is first-person mode.
Super Kiwi 64. Very fun, very short, very recommended.
Alright, gaming industry. Indie and AAA. Can we have a quick chat? Stop putting permanently missable content in games. We should be able to experience a whole game in a first playthrough without needing to anxiously consider every decision we make or turn we take because we may miss integral plot information or upgrades, or consult a guide and rob yourself of any mystery. It is for this reason that Omori is definitely a more interesting game to read about than it is to play. Many things we didn't do, or rather didn't know we could do, had some real plot-altering significance that would have given us different abilities or a different ending altogether. Down the rabbit hole I went, reading about what we could have done instead of what we did. Omori is a game with a fine story and okay battle mechanics. Characters fill their roles in battles, and utilizing them in specific ways will yield you quick rewards. Some battle mechanics seem incredibly tedious and annoying, such as the emotions. It's best to stay mellow the whole game instead of putting your life on the line to feel happy. We enjoyed what we played, but we enjoyed what we read about even more, because it painted a wider picture than what we saw, because we missed things we couldn't possibly have thought to find, check, or even see.
Aubrey Headbutt forever.
It may have some devastating repercussions in the future, but sure, Aubrey Headbutt forever.
In an effort to get in on the quick and easy gameplay experience that seems to be the gaming trend, evidenced by things like Fall Guys, we have Kirby's Dream Buffet. Kirby grabbed a magic utensil on his birthday, and now he and his friends get to suffer for it. You, other players, and computers will race along different food-encrusted paths as fast as you can. Then you'll partake in several minigames that take place on food-based arenas. Then you'll race again, then a 2-minute free-for-all. What are you fighting for?
Obesity. You're attempting to make your Kirby the biggest by feeding it strawberries that are littered along your path. Doing things fast awards you more strawberries. Knocking opponents off ledges will make them vomit strawberries. All of this is about strawberries. It's a fine game, and the collectible hats and colors add a sense of progression to an otherwise kind of empty game.
Empty? Look at all this ice cream!
Yes, and it's there for about 4 seconds before you roll past it. Then another 3 when the minigame happens, then ends. Then another 4 for the next race, and so on. You're never competing in an event long enough to get used to it before the next one starts. Then, by the time you do get used to what you're doing, the series of events themselves have ended. Collect your rewards in the form of colors, hats, and unlockable events, then play again. Nothing lasts long enough to make an impression. I just wish some of this stuck around long enough to process it. Other than that, this is an okay game.
Bravery and Greed is a multiplayer game that I'm not sure multiple players are meant to actually play. That may sound like a dumb statement, but if you look at this footage of Andy and I playing, can you really tell what's going on? For context, there are 4 dungeons you can enter, each with a specific crystal you must collect. Also within each are these lock-in arenas which you must kill waves of enemies. You have 4 classes to pick from and multiple colors. There are also tarot cards you can equip that will alter how much treasure you receive and the difficulty of each run. Now with that information handy, can you tell what's going on here?
I can't even keep track of myself, and I'm in this footage. Bravery and Greed is in desperate need of outlines on characters and enemies and wind-up frames. You can be easily comboed by grunts that surround you because there is no beginning to their attack. They simply execute a small, hard-to-notice motion, and you're out a chunk of life force. Even throwing the followers you can free into the fray as meat shields never did much for the grunts that surround you. Bosses have this issue as well. Few to no wind-up frames and huge chunks of HP are eaten by attacks you can't see coming.
And if you're having trouble with the class-based combat, go the Rogue. It has the easiest moveset, the most abilities, and can turn invisible, hiding it from projectiles, which is a must during the Beholder fight. This is the best class, hands down. Other classes don't have as much versatility as the Rogue and absolutely need better balancing.
Also, wait a bit before you purchase it on the Switch. There are some bugs that prevent fluid play, such as the lag. The lag is very noticeable and plagues every single button press and directional input, every single one. This is a known issue and the developers are looking into a fix. We recommend waiting to buy it on the Switch until a fix is out there.
After the bosses easily overwhelm you and the controls downright ruin your run, you fill a greedo-meter which unlocks equipment you can now find on your runs, as well as tarot cards. Although, why are the tarot cards the only things with descriptions on them when you unlock them? The equipment should have descriptions as well, otherwise we don't really care what we're unlocking. It may look cool, but is it helpful? Worth it? Won't know until it shows up incredibly rarely.
Despite our frustrations with the controls, the roguelike/like elements, and the bosses, this is a fun time. We're not sure how it is with more than 2 players. We can only imagine the on-screen chaos that is to be had when 4 players show their bravery and their greed. Finally, Evil West. A game I went into fully expecting a Doom-like experience with guns, enemy-ripping finishers, and lots of violence. What we got was some of that.
Evil West follows an organization of supernatural creature eliminators called the Rentier Institute. Pronunciation be damned. You take on the role of Jesse Rentier, who will root and toot and shoot his way across this version of the Old West as he hunts vampires and searches for his friend that keeps running off for some reason.
You'll outfit him with a bunker's worth of weapons, from a crossbow to 7 different guns to an electric gauntlet. Once you brave the linear exploration sections of each level, you'll then jump into a lock-in arena spot where several vampires full of money and items currently exist. Use a variety of punching, kicking, and shooting abilities to open them up and take what's yours in an actually impressively varied combat system.
Each level up affords you a skill point and some cash. Skill points upgrade your general abilities, cash upgrades your guns. Use these to make each vampire you fight a delicate dance of punches, slams, throws, pulls, bullets, bolts, explosions, EMPs, and more.
This game is fun. Flat out fun. Not only does it vary the combat and make each encounter fun, but collectibles gravitate toward you. You don't have to press any button multiple times to bend over to grab the cash on the floor, or the potion, or the whatever. You don't even have to press it once. It just performs a fusion dance if it's close enough to the thing of the same color, then floats to you. It's excellent! The story is full of holes, but it barely makes an impact as you do what you've always wanted to do. Fight vampires with your favorite weapons, your fists!
Wow, that was a lot of games. But don't worry, we're not done talking about them because it's time to do our own Game of the Year show. We have awards, we have words, we have opinions. It's time to dole them out.
Before we do that, it's time we let everyone know what games are up for awards this year, namely which ones in 2022 that we played.
ANNO Mutationem.
Attack on Titan Forever.
Bravery and Greed.
Bright Memory Infinite.
Chefy-Chef.
Chenzo Club.
Chrono Cross Radical Dreamers Edition.
Curse Crackers, For Whom the Bell Toils.
Destroy All Humans 2 Reprobed.
Dungeon Munchies.
Eternal Pinball RPG.
Evil West.
Fist, Forged in Shadow Torch.
Final Fantasy Origin, Stranger of Paradise.
Firegirl Hack and Splash Rescue DX.
Floppy Knights.
Haiku, The Robot.
Hard Space Shipbreaker.
Hayai.
Indestructo Tank for Game Boy.
Itora.
Kirby and the Forgotten Land.
Kirby's Dream Buffet.
Machina Blade.
Mario and Rabbids Sparks of Hope.
Amori.
Overwatch 2.
Pocky and Rocky Reshrined.
Pokemon Legends Arceus.
Record of Lotus War Deedlit in Wonder Labyrinth on Nintendo Switch.
Roll of the Dice.
Runic.
Sonic Frontiers.
Super Kiwi 64.
Terror of Hemasaurus.
The Cruel King and the Great Hero.
The Outbound Ghost.
The Pinball Wizard.
Tunic.
Unicrome, a 1-bit unicorn adventure.
Well, if you made it through the list, then we hope you're ready for more because we've got awards to give out. Our awards include our own versions of Worst, Okayest, and Best Games of the Year, in addition to 4 other awards we give out. Those awards are...
Worst Game Mechanic.
Free was too expensive.
The Evil West Award.
And the Prom Date Award. Before we can get to the best games, or even the okayest, or even the extra awards, we must first reveal our worst Game of the Year awards. These go to the most abysmal experience we've had in gaming this year. Which one made us actively retch at the thought of ever touching it again? Well, for me, that would have to be Overwatch 2. It amazes me somewhat that this can even be called a sequel when it's just the same game again. Only this time rewards are given out more strictly, and it's stapled a god-awful battle pass system to itself. Something done so poorly, the community is begging for loot boxes to come back. You know you've done something shitty when your community is begging for something worse because your shitty thing is so bad. This is a game that allows a terrible company to continue being terrible, and we will just let it happen because it's another team-based shooter with different takes on different stereotypical characters. Nothing will change. We'll still buy a skin for $20 fucking instead of making Blizzard actually face any sort of consequences for any of its deplorable actions.
Unlike James, I have the morals, restraint, and lack of free time to completely avoid Overwatch 2.
Fuck you.
Which is why my Worst Game of the Year award can go to something that doesn't fall into the typical pratfalls that most terrible modern games do, like battle passes and constant post-release updates. No, my Worst Game of the Year, which is Destroy All Humans 2 Reprobed, is simply an unfinished heap. Has it sunk in yet that we're walking into the third year of the next generation of gaming? The PS5 and Xbox Footrest released in November 2020. These are supposedly the latest, greatest, bravest pieces of hardware in existence, capable of doing unbelievable things. But they're still bogged down by developers and publishers diving to get that quick buck. Destroy All Humans 2 Reprobed does play like a Destroy All Humans game. Run and gun down humans and their cars, harvest DNA for upgrades, stay hidden using a variety of means, but that's only when the game works. When it doesn't, it's full of crashes, dumb AI companions, cutscenes teleporting the player through the ground, and missions that refuse to progress after multiple restarts. The effort we went through to play this game, which was borrowing a PS5, one of the biggest and most awkward devices I've ever beheld with my own two magnificent blue eyes, is peanuts compared to what other people would have to do, which is either purchase the thing or build themselves a capable PC. Save yourself the trouble and simply avoid Destroy All Humans 2 Reprobed. The first game is a safer bet.
Okayest Game of the Year is always a hard one to give out. We say a lot of games are okay. We called 4 of them okay in our reviews from earlier. But in that pile is the most C-level game you can imagine playing in 2022. My okayest game of 2022 will go to The Cruel King and the Great Hero. This is an RPG told in a storybook fashion with a limited color palette that really captured me with its look. I wasn't looking for a great adventure or a deep story. I was just looking for a lukewarm, feel-good game that let me fight some monsters, get attached to an adorable main character, and feel as though playing it didn't waste my time. That's exactly what I got with this game. The story isn't the best and there's very little to do outside the main quest unless you want some side quests that take way too fucking long, but it's a visually arresting game. Plus, the Dragon King following you around and lighting her sword on fire to allow her to do special attacks will never not be adorable to me.
The phrase okay game has a negative connotation to it, doesn't it? Nobody writes a positive comment under a 5 out of 10 IGN review. But I posit that an okay game is still worthy of respect. So long as it can still grant you an hour or two of fun, okay games have their place on our shelves. With that in mind, I'd like to award my okayest game of the year award to
Machina Blade
for providing me with a few hours of solid multiplayer fun. I don't think it's any secret that we dislike roguelikes here at G2D. In fact, we dislike them so much, we've done multiple videos about how we've sworn off playing them. Then why are there like 4 roguelikes on this list of games we've played this year? So we can come upon ones we never knew we needed, like
Machina Blade.
This right here must be what people mean when they talk about reaching a zen state, attaining a kind of flow when playing roguelike games, sitting back and playing
Machina Blade,
using the Diablo-style controls for abilities, stacking bonuses from your equipment, and watching that combo meter fill. It's just so easy. I'd love to see where
Machina Blade
and its developer could go now that it has this as a foundation, because that's what
Machina Blade
feels like, a foundation. It's among the firmest, sturdiest, close to a school zone while also not too far from the beachest foundations I've ever played, but still just that. If it had more characters, levels, additional progression, and greater enemy variety, it could be elevated to being the only roguelike I've ever loved. Well, before Hyper Light Breaker releases anyway. But until then,
Machina Blade
remains an okay game, and that's very respectable.
Revealing our best games of the year is so incredible, we've decided to give away 4 extra awards first. The first award we're giving away is the Evil West Award. This award is given to the Evil West that's the most Evil West this year.
Evil West is a good game. A really good game. Unfortunately, it didn't fit perfectly into our okayest or best categories, and we really wanted to emphasize how good this game is. The combat is exciting and electric, the gameplay is linear while still somehow staying varied, collectibles are a 1 or less button press away. Beyond any and all of this, it's short. This is a 15 or less hour experience with clearly defined goals. We highly recommend this game, and it deserves our Evil West award for being the most Evil West this year.
This Not Even There to Participate award is given to the game we will never recommend playing, not even for joke purposes. If this game ever became free to play, it would never be worth even seconds of your time. This award goes to Pocky and Rocky Reshrined. This game may advertise itself as a remake of the first game, which contained co-op play out of the box. It even has new characters and updated graphics. Unfortunately, to even access co-op, you either need a cheat code or to beat the entire campaign mode alone. Free is too expensive for an experience like that. No thank you. Enjoy the award, you garbage pile.
The next of our 4 extra awards to throw into the ether is the Prom Date Award. This one goes out to the game that looks like dung, but plays like an angel. Pokemon Legends Arceus. James will be discussing how wrong I am in a lowered voice while we give this award, which he had very little say in. Despite claiming it is his favorite and or the best Pokemon game he has ever touched, he refuses to admit how unpleasant this game looks.
It looks excellent for a Pokemon game.
The fact the second part of that sentence has to follow is only more evidence for this award. Legends Arceus is the first open-world Pokemon game, and the first one that felt like the interactive experience Pokemon fans have been waiting on for decades. Throw 100 Pokeballs and miss every single one, all without those troubling loading screens and scene loads that plague every other installment. Unfortunately, it looks like butt. The pop-in, the textures, the frame rate drops, it's inventive and worth returning to, but no one will ever call it beautiful. Except James.
Our final extra award, the Worst Game Mechanic Award, goes to Overwatch 2, Battle Passes, Loot Boxes, and difficult to earn in-game currency. And don't worry, we still all get to say our famous catchphrase for this award. Say it with us now.
Loot boxes are poop.
Mostly Overwatch 2, though. For every reason I gave in my Worst Game of the Year award, as well as the fact it has a battle pass system and difficult to earn in-game currency. Surprisingly, the only piece it lacks is loot boxes, which are likely to return. These mechanics plague current-day game development and are stains that make us second-guess being excited about games that contain them. We actively avoid them as much as we can now. Enjoy this award, mechanics we give it to every year, as well as the game we can now name when we give it.
It is finally time, everyone. Time for our Best Game of the Year awards. Picking my Best Game of the Year is always a bit difficult because I don't play as many video games as I'd like, and certainly fewer than James. In fact, if you're watching gameplay footage right now, it's almost guaranteed to be James playing. If I'm playing, it'll be a multiplayer game. So my Best Game of the Year award will have to be given to something that had enough delicious gameplay to serve 2, and that could only be given to Kirby and the Forgotten Land. My experience with remembering the Forgotten Land was as Bandana D, my personal choice for the 4th Smash Bros. Kirby rep. And although Bandana D and the second player as a whole is inherently less capable than Kirby, I think this serves as a praise for the game's superior execution rather than a criticism for its shortcoming. While the second player watches Kirby handle mouthful mode puzzles and platforming, sits back during the alternate reality challenges, and is stuck with only their standard spear that can't level up, the thoughtful level design, catchy music, and dramatic boss fights are all still there for both players' participation. Every area is sure to be memorable, with details to observe and little secrets to find, and there's always something to work toward, whether it be saving up enough materials to upgrade that next ability, or finally beating that little labyrinth game. And I'm sure Kirby and the Forgotten Land is a great game as a solo experience as well. The upgraded abilities frequently boost Kirby's movement options, the achievement-like challenges and levels increase replayability without feeling cheap, and, in typical Kirby fashion, there are little mini-games and side things to do if you need a break. With all there is to do in the Forgotten Land of Wyoming, it's more than deserving of Best Game of the Year. And we would know. We got this shiny 100% completion certificate.
Best Game of the Year. We've given it to some spectacular games over the years, and this one is no exception. My Best Game of the Year award goes to Record of Lodoss War, Deedlit, and Wonder Labyrinth on the Nintendo Switch. This was an extremely hard choice because the good games were good this year. Deedlit comes from an indie studio that previously worked on Castlevania-like games themed around the Toho franchise. Team Ladybug did some excellent work then, and they did an even better job here. Deedlit and Wonder Labyrinth has tight controls, powerful combat, discoverable weapons, and abilities that double as attacks and recovery. This is a complete experience that I only wish could have gone on just a bit longer. In about 5 hours, you'll find yourself walking up to the final boss's door, ready to tear its heart out and feed it to the fairies and deities you can employ. If you have a craving for DS-era Castlevania games, then Deedlit is for you, as it reminds you how good these games were and how good they are when these mechanics are improved upon. This game deserves my Best Game of the Year award.
Well, there it is. A little earlier than last year's video as well. Everyone congratulate James on his time management skills.
Fuck you.
We hope you enjoyed our videos, as well as our Game of the Year award show. What were some of your best, worst, and okayest games of 2022? Be sure to let us know what those games are in the comments. Soon as you do that, be sure to subscribe so you can watch more of our content coming in 2023. Thank you for watching, and welcome to the new year, everyone.